music lovers, we're thrilled to announce WVTC Radio Network has made it to round 2 of the Stellar Awards. Thank you for your support, but we're not done yet. Round 2 voting is now open. We need your help to win 2024 Stellar Award for Internet Radio Station of the Year. Please visit www.thestellaward.com. Look for the radio station ballot. Navigate to Category 4, Internet Station of the Year, and cast your vote for WVTC Radio Network, Ramon Perry. Remember, each household can vote twice, so make your voice heard before April 30th. Let's spread the gospel and bring home the Stellar Award for WVTC Radio Network. We thank you for your support, and may God richly bless you.
WVTC Radio Detroit. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, X, and our website, www.wvtcdetroit.com, or download our WVTC app from the Play Store for Android users and the App Store for iPhone users. Thank you for tuning to WVTC Radio Detroit and the Community Bell Show with your host, former Wayne County Commissioner, Edna Bell. Stay tuned for insightful information Detroiters will find valuable. Text a friend and tell them to watch with you for news you can use. And now, your host, Edna Bell.
Come on and tell somebody. Hello, hello, hello. It is Monday at 4 o'clock, so it must be the Community Bell Show. Thank you so much for joining us on this wonderful sunny morning, Monday afternoon. You know, it's sunny and it's warm, and we're not quite accustomed to that quite yet, but we're happy that it's sunny and warm today. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, we like to have you come on Mondays so that you can watch the stellar award winning WVTC Radio Detroit. It's time to vote. You may have seen it already on the screen, but it's time to vote again. WVTC Detroit has won 2 stellar awards for being the best radio station in our market. We are excited about that. We're going for number 3. Make it a trifecta. So everybody out there, you've got until the 30th of April, which is tomorrow. Vote WVTC Radio Detroit for the best radio station in our market. We are so appreciative of that. Thank you for joining us. Well, Detroit has had a wonderful, wonderful last few days, haven't we? Uh, Best showing of any city for the NFL draft. Best showing of any city for the NFL draft. I need to say that again. And not only did we have the most people, you know, our people showed out. We showed people what Detroit really is like. We are great people. We are friendly people. We are good, smart people. So we are just appreciate all those folks coming to join us for the last few days in Detroit. It was a wonderful time. I want to send a shout out to one of my church members, Mr. James Esther. And, you know, I call him Mr. James Esther, but I've known him since he was born. He is now a Green Bay Packer. He was one of those young men who received a contract with the Green Bay Packers and Tech graduate, Northern Illinois graduate. And the interesting thing about this young man, he graduated a year ago and decided to stay and get his master's so that he could be a part of the draft in his home city. And so we're just proud of him, just proud of him. He's got his master's. So he's a smart young man, besides being a great football player. So congratulations, James Esther, the newest Green Bay Packer from Detroit. We're proud of him. And from New Prospect Missionary Baptist Church, let me add that. His father is our Reverend Craig Esther, one of our pastors, and he is just a wonderful, wonderful young man. And his mom is Shelley Esther, known them since before they were married. So it's a good day for all of us here in Detroit. And the Detroit Lions were gracious enough to provide scholarships to some of our young people from the city of Detroit. My grandson happened to be one of those young people who received a Detroit Lions scholarship last week, and they presented that last Friday evening. So I'm just, it was a real good time in Detroit for us. So we're excited. Congratulations, Grant Johnson, for your Detroit Lions scholarship. We're happy about that. He's a wonderful young man. Will be going off to Florida A&M University, the School of Business and Industry, one of the best in the country. Absolutely. Now I've got a special treat for you today, everybody. A really, really, really special treat. I have one of the best power couples in the nation. Probably the world, but we'll take the nation for today. Dr. Adrian Johnson and attorney Joe Johnson. Joe is homegrown, so Joe's coming home. Joe's going to talk about what he's done in Detroit. Adrian's going to talk about what she's done and all the wonderful things she's done. And then they're going to talk about what they've done together. Power couple, everybody. This is one of our power couples. So Joe and Adrian, thank you so much for joining me today. It is my pleasure to have you. And we talked about so much before the show even got started. We're not going to have time to talk about all of it today. So you just going to have to be regulars on the show.
We would love that. And thank you for inviting us. It's our honor to be here with you today.
Oh, I am so pleased. And the other thing that I didn't tell you guys about is the ambassador to Ghana that they brought to Detroit.
Absolutely.
And I had the pleasure of being one of those people who was invited to meet her and listen to her. They are doing such wonderful things. Joe, talk about some of the things you've done. But first of all, tell us where you come from.
Well, and I'm glad you asked. As a proud city of Detroit, East Sider, wherever I go, I'm happy to talk about how much I love my city and all that it's done for me and shaping who I am and my development. So I'm proud to say that like you, I enjoyed seeing Detroit displayed this weekend in its best light so that the rest of the nation could see what we all know, that Detroit's a great city with great things happening, great people, and we can do things on a big scale. So I am honored to have been a part of that as well. And for me, I grew up on the East Side. I went to Detroit Kettering, went to the University of Michigan on an athletic scholarship, basketball scholarship, played 4 years. I was captain my senior year. So, the state is very near and dear to me.
He's being modest, everybody. Now tell him that you were championship team. You were not just a member of the team.
Well,
It was a championship team.
I was fortunate to play on a Big Ten championship team. And I also went to Thomas and Cooley Law School. And so I've been a practicing attorney for, and I'm dating myself here, for about 33 years. So
dating ourselves is good.
Yeah.
We want to do that.
Longevity,
Yes.
longevity does have its place.
Absolutely.
So I'm just, happy to be back in Detroit, my hometown, and just ready to contribute and do whatever we can to help make the city better.
Wonderful, wonderful. Adrian?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for allowing us to be here. I'm just excited to be back in Detroit. We were in Atlanta for the past 25 years. Joe and I both worked for the Coca-Cola Company. I was in marketing, and Joe was the litigation counsel for the Coca-Cola Company. And when I retired in 2010, we started doing different entrepreneurial type businesses. And so one of the things that we did is we started going to Africa. Okay. So we've been going to Africa now since 2001. We go sometimes twice a year. I think the only year we missed was for COVID. Yeah, and I knew the African presidents were going to close the country, so we didn't go. But we create women's empowerment programs in South Africa, in Liberia, Sierra Leone, and now we're in Ghana.
Wonderful, wonderful. And that is no small task. That is absolutely no small task when you think of the need.
Yes.
That needs to be met in those countries, particularly as it relates to women.
That's correct. That's correct. Because every country is different. And so you have to go. You can't create a program sitting in your living room. You have to go to the country and make sure, because the program we set up in South Africa is different from the Women's Empowerment Program we did in Liberia. That was more like selling Coca-Cola. We thought the women were going to sell maybe 3 to 5 cases a week. Those women sold 75 to 100 cases.
Oh my gosh.
They became micro distributors. And so now you brought a program. We are putting women in business. So far, we've created 325 women entrepreneurs who make and sell reusable sanitary pads who live in villages.
Wow.
So
now let's say that again, because I think sometimes here we don't understand the importance of our being able to go to the store and buy a box of sanitary napkins.
That's right. Because in villages, and especially in African villages, they don't have stores. So you can't go to store. And then most of the women in the villages only make about $26 a month. So if you have a couple of girls and they need to buy sanitary pads, you just can't afford it. So girls miss school. I think we found out they miss anywhere from 5 to 7 days a month of school because they don't have adequate sanitary pads.
And one of the downsides to that is that it has an adverse effect on women's reproductive health. If you don't have hygienic products, it can adversely affect your physical and reproductive health as well. So we're very cognizant of that. And so our program is twofold in that it creates these women entrepreneurs who can provide revenue and income for their families and their communities. But additionally, it addresses the need of school absenteeism, where these young girls now have an opportunity to be successful, to attend school without missing school, for something that in Western culture is obvious. You just go to the store and purchase it. And so, they had to use sort of rudimentary kind of fixes for their menstrual cycle, which is a normal human function. So this program helps address that.
But sometimes I don't think our listeners really understand the meaning of when you say rudiment. Tell them what they were using.
Old rags, newspapers, anything they could find. Some of them even use dirt. I mean, it's just whatever they had, or they didn't go to school. So think about it. You couldn't participate in sports because every month you're going to miss 5 to 7 days. You could miss a big test because of your period. So it was just really crippling a lot of girls. And so that's why instead of giving away pads, Joe and I bought 1,000 reusable pads, took them to our daughter, Jayla, who was in grad school at the London School of Economics. we said, Jayla, take the pass to Ghana and see if really is a need, because you have to do a feasibility study when you create something.
Sure.
Jayla came back, she said there's really a problem. And so we said, instead of giving them fish, let's teach them how to fish.
All right.
And that's why we started buying sewing machines, fabric, and we started creating our own program to help them become entrepreneurs.
Yeah, and we wanted to create something that was sustainable.
Right.
So our program, we provide sewing machines, fabric, we train the women, but we also provide micro funding, because we recognize that to be in business, it takes resources and capital. And so our women are very resourceful. And the pads that they manufacture last up to 18 months. They're washable and they're reusable. The fabrics are safe for the body. So it just is a program that makes sense. And it's a grassroots program. So, we provide the capital through our fundraising efforts. I should say through my wife's fundraising. That's one of her chief responsibilities. But it has just, we've seen it change women's lives.
Right.
And so that's, we're very, very thankful and blessed. We both believe that in the Gospel of Luke, to whom much is given, much is required.
Right.
And so, for us, this is, it's not just a purpose for us, it's our passion as well. So we love what we do.
And that's how we met the ambassador. Because we go to Washington, talk to the ambassador, let her know what we're doing in country. And she became our friend. So we said, Ambassador, we need you to come to Detroit. Visit Detroit. She said, the D.
Yes.
I'm going to the
It was
D.
interesting how she said that, the D.
Yeah.
And she was so gracious.
Yes.
And taking pictures with everybody, and just so gracious in her comments about her country and the importance of investment
Yes.
in the country and how it pays off.
Yes.
Right.
So, you're just not throwing money out the window. You're doing something that's going to create wealth for everybody.
That's correct.
And Edna, to your point, that's another part of what we do in our other business, our for-profit business, Infinity Global Connections. We seek to connect local business with businesses overseas in Africa, the diaspora with the continent of Africa. We just believe that there is so much that we both have to offer each other, and that by connecting businesses and resources, we can achieve some things that otherwise we couldn't do individually. And so that's just, we've sort of made that our life's work to, connect the diaspora with the continent of Africa.
And that's why we did the Ghana Global Business Summit, because we wanted to show people here in Detroit what Ghana has to offer, but also show Ghana what Detroit has to offer. So we brought in artificial intelligence experts to come in, local people here in Detroit. We also had the U.S. Department of Commerce, Eve Lerman, brought in 2 local companies that do exporting to Ghana. So W.E. DeCruz, Wendy DeCruz, she was talking about the importance of exporting. And then Joe talked about the importance of fundraising is friend raising. So friend raising is fundraising. So it's the importance of identifying long-term partners and identifying fundraising mechanisms for you as well, and funding sources.
Yeah. And another thing we always like to do is we want our businesses, local businesses, to be prepared for these opportunities.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
It's not enough just to say you're in business or you're doing business or that you have a talent or skill. We need to make sure that these businesses have the foundation and fundamentals to be successful and sustainable. So much of our local economy relies on entrepreneurship.
Yes.
And so we need to make sure that these businesses are fully prepared to meet the challenges that economies are facing right now. And so that's a big part of what we do. We have a whole portfolio of trainings and seminars and master classes and workshops that we have that help prepare people for the future. We have programs for high schools that, my wife has designed that help students be prepared for college, and then programs that help individuals get prepared for the work world and the work environment. So we're very much about creating opportunities for personal and professional development for individuals.
And it's so important that we share that and it's for me that it comes from people who look like us.
Yes, that's right.
Makes a difference who you get the information from. It just does. Oftentimes, people don't necessarily believe what they're told unless it comes from what they believe to be a credible source. And so it's important that all of us provide that information in a way that is believable, easily understood is the other piece,
Right.
Absolutely.
and from credible sources.
Right.
And in order to be credible, you got to show that you've done it. You know, you just can't go out and say, well, let's go do this. And if you haven't done it, nobody's going to believe that it can be done.
That's right.
Right.
Because that's what we were doing, when the ambassador was here. I don't know if people know, but some little things can knock you out of the ballpark. So I know with both hands, and you read the card, because this is their everything. So you read the card, and I watched the ambassador. She did this. You read the card, you take your time and read it, you turn it over, you read the card. Too many times we'll somebody give you a card. Yeah, oh, thanks for the card. And you put it in your pocket. That's not how you do it. So when you become a global citizen, there are some etiquette rules that you have to follow. Otherwise, people say,
they don't really care. They're just,
you just throw the card, you just read anything. So that's what we try to do, training to help you with global leadership development. And we have a program we're doing at Cass Tech where I'm helping the girls at Cass Tech. And one of our sponsors is Detroit Rotary, also the Links, my Great Lakes Links chapter. And so we help the girls. The girls at Cass Tech cut out the patterns for the fabric. I take it to Ghana. But one of the things we did is we had a Zoom call with the girls at Cass Tech, with the girls that I was taking the pads to in Ghana.
Wow. So they had a chance to meet and see.
Exactly.
Oh, that's just incredible.
It was. And it was so funny because the girls at Cass Tech I told them get 10 questions. And the girls in Ghana had 10 questions. They sent us the questions. Well, one of the questions was, who are some of your favorite artists? So the girls at Cass Tech had looked up Burna Boy and some of the African artists they said. But when the girls in Ghana, they said, our favorite is, we love Sierra. We love Beyonce. And they were like, Beyonce's? Sierra, how do y'all know that? But our artists in the United States are global artists.
Yes, they're worldwide. Absolutely.
And that's one of the things that we want to help our young people understand is that this is a global economy, and that if you're going to be successful in this world, you better be able to be global and be able to compete, because so often your challengers don't just come from your neighborhood. They come from around the world, and these are individuals who are very competitive. And so we want to make sure our young people are prepared to meet the challenges of a global world and a global economy. So that's why the programs that my wife has set up at CAS makes a difference. It helps our girls become entrepreneurial, but also with a global focus of here's how I can do business in the world. And so we think that's very important for our young people's future.
And we did the pilot at CAS, but we're getting ready to take it out and sponsored by the Detroit Rotary. We're going to go to Osborne, Martin Luther King, and I believe Renaissance.
Oh, okay.
So we'll go to all the schools because, I want them to know about careers. They should think about being foreign service officers or maybe even becoming an ambassador themselves.
Absolutely.
Oh, my God.
To know what's available to them.
The sky's the limit.
Absolutely.
When you believe in God, God can do anything.
Absolutely. Well, now, said you were taking it to all the schools. I've got a school. It's K through 8. It's in high school yet.
Okay.
Barack Obama Leadership Academy.
I'm going to have to write that down.
And I'm going to try and take you over there so you can see. It originally was Timbuktu Academy that was started by Wayne County former Commissioner Bernard Parker.
I know Bernard well.
And well, that's who started the school. Probably, it's been almost 25 years ago.
Wow.
And they started a storefront on Gratiot. And now they are in a regular school building. It's at first it was like K through 5, K through 3, now they're K through 8. Have a wonderful environment over there, and so you'll have to come see it. But it would be nice to start the 8th graders, the 6th, 7th, 8th graders, to thinking about the kinds of things you're talking about.
Right.
And then when they get to high school, they can expand on those thoughts.
That's correct.
But Barack Obama Leadership Academy, great spot. It's a charter school right here on the east side of Detroit, over on Canfield. So you know the east side, Joe.
Yes. I love the east side.
Yes. So we'll have to get get you over there, you could just meet the people over there who run that school. They do a great job over there. I'm just real proud of
Oh,
them.
that'd be great.
But in terms of getting the relationship with our young people to people around the globe, so important. My oldest grandson had an opportunity to go to a school where he was able to do that, and he went to South Africa, and this was he was in the 7th grade. Went to South Africa. They went to different countries, and it was such an interesting thing to have him come back and talk about his experiences when he went to different countries. As a matter of fact, when COVID hit, they were just getting ready to go to Costa Rica, but they couldn't go on that trip because of COVID. But I thought it was so important that our young people have an opportunity to see what goes on in other countries, learn what's happening around the world. So when they come back home, first of all, they don't take things for granted,
Right.
because I still think our young people take a lot for granted, like those girls at Cash Tech and the other schools who take for granted being able to walk down to CVS or the Myers or where the local store and get a box of sanitary napkins, and they never even think about it. And these girls in other countries, just, I mean, that is anything that would ever cross their minds.
And in fact, to be in our program, the two things that we asked is that, one, you either been asking God for a miracle or you've been asking God for a second chance.
Okay.
And if you've been doing either one of those, you can be part of our Well You Brought program. And so we go through the churches and we ask the churches to identify 10 women, and we pick 10 in a village. Because if you go to 20 or 30, they'll cannibalize each other. So we try to go as small as we can. And then one of the things too, a lot of the women can't read or write.
Okay.
So out the window goes the PowerPoint. So that's why I go twice a year. Joe and I would go and talk to the women and teach them how to be business women. We talk about financial literacy. This is what you do when you have money. You pay yourself first, and then you put money back in the business, and you save money. So we try to help them and then we also just added a medical component. So you want to talk about the medical component?
Yeah, we bring in doctors and dentists that do wellness screening. So they do hypertension check, diabetes. They teach them how to do self breast exams.
Wow.
We have dental screening because we want these women to be able to understand their health and the dynamics of health and how it can impact their life going forward. But one of the things we also do, and my wife talked about developing these programs, but we also develop in-country teams.
Yes.
So we develop and train individuals to help execute our plans, even if we can't be there. And so, we think it's just a fundamental part of how you build global enterprises and business. And so we have a staff. In fact, we're going later in May, but we have a staff that's going to train 10 women. Is it Wednesday?
It's Wednesday, May 1st.
Wednesday. So they execute the program. They provide the sewing machines that we purchased, the training.
Where do you get the sewing machines?
Over there.
Oh, you get
They
them
have,
there. Okay.
oh yeah, they have South Africa, Ghana, they all look like Chicago, New York. They're major cities. You can't go by what you see on TV where they have that one little kid with the fat stomach and the tears and bugs all around him. That's not how Africa really looks.
Yeah, there is a market in Accra, Ghana called Makola Market where you can literally buy almost
Whatever you
anything. So they have sewing machines. They have. I remember once my power cord to my computer died. And so I'm in Makola Market and bought a power cord. So, Ghana.
It's like going to a mall.
Exactly.
It is. Ghana,
is.
and they have malls and they're very modern and up-to-date malls. Ghana is a very progressive country, very stable, very business savvy.
And you love Rwanda. Rwanda is beautiful.
Rwanda is incredible.
Oh my God. Well, I just can't even speak. It's so clean. In fact, we stayed in Hotel Rwanda for the movie.
Wow.
Yeah.
Of all the countries we visited, I think Ghana is most like home for us.
Right.
Because the people are just so kind and wonderful, much like Detroit is, very just a kind spirit. But Rwanda had such a forward thinking. The infrastructure, the roads are pristine.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Every fourth Saturday of the month, shut down the city for a national day of cleaning.
Oh, wow.
It is one of the
we
cleanest
need, we
countries,
need to have,
not
have
just
somebody
in
come to Detroit
Africa,
and talk to them
but
about
Europe. You know, they take pride in it. It's no crime. You know, they're
Wow.
progressive in terms of business. You can open a business within 24 hours in Rwanda, in Ghana as well. So, I mean, these countries are sophisticated. The problem for most African nations is they haven't developed the middle class.
Okay.
Right.
I mean, there's
Either you're rich or you're
tremendous
poor.
amount of wealth,
Mhm.
but there's some abject poverty
Yes.
that, you know, is just difficult to see.
Yes. And when I was in
Yes.
Nigeria, I experienced that same thing. You
Yes.
know, you were either at the governor's palace or you were
There
in
you
a
go.
hut someplace.
There you go.
Right.
Either or. That's the
Mhm.
way Sierra Leone was. In fact, I stayed in a village there, so I will never stay in another village because I need Wi-Fi, I need
I
air
need something.
conditioning, I need all that.
I'm telling you. But in the other part about being in some of the African nations, I know it was true in Nigeria, electricity.
Yeah. Oh my
Right.
goodness. Yes.
They don't have connectivity with electricity,
Right.
which is, I mean, it causes they have to go to the store every day because they can't store anything.
Mhm.
It's amazing how much we depend on it and we
Right.
take it for granted. But in some of those countries, it's non-existent.
Right. And to your point, you know, Ghana went through a period where they would have these just rolling blackouts and you never
Right.
knew when they would come.
That's right.
So if you hadn't
Wow.
charged up your electronics or your
Mhm.
phones,
Oh my.
you just, you know,
You were just-
at the mercy, you just like, oh my God, when is it coming back? But,
Wow.
you know, they're creating some stability. But see, those are opportunities for American entrepreneurs
Mhm.
to sort of create some renewable energy
Mhm.
or low cost energy fixes that could help those economies.
Mhm.
And people here have the aptitude, they have the resources. So they need to consider using those resources in a way that benefits Africa.
Mhm.
And in the process, everybody wins.
Yes.
And I tell you, like the Detroit Youth Choir is now in Kenya,
Mhm.
and they're performing. And so one of our friends, Sonny Payton, she and her daughter, it's over there. And so we call some of our friends there to say, hey, they're in country, take care, make sure everything is okay. But one of the things we have to do as Americans, we got to go home.
Mhm.
That's where we're from. We're from
Mhm.
Africa.
That's
Come
what
on,
the
people.
ambassador said.
Mhm.
Come home.
Come
yes.
home.
Yes.
You know, when our cars roll up in a village, you know, people will say, they'll tell our people,
Mhm.
Ellen and Jennifer, they said, thank you for bringing the white lady. And I said, y'all know I'm not white. And so they said, but the thing is, there aren't enough Americans coming on a consistent basis. See, I go every year.
Mhm.
And so we need to go home. Or you'll talk to somebody, they say, oh, I went to Africa. Yeah, I was in Senegal in, what was it, 1978. And I said, you
It's
never
a
went
whole
back?
different world.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a whole different world. There's difference.
Mhm.
So we need to go back and not only go back for that purpose to help, but we need to go back so that when you're interviewing for a job and you're interviewing with a company like a Coca-Cola company, you can't go in and just talk about what's going on the East Side. You've got to talk about where you've been. It's a global company.
Mhm.
And so that's why we're doing a master class also. So people will be able to know, you know, when you're interviewing, what some of the skills, what are some of the questions that you need to be prepared? What are some of the soft skills?
Mhm.
You know, so you do a number of times people did great on the interview, but then when we took you to lunch, you didn't know what
which
to
fork
do with
pick
the,
up.
you didn't know which fork, you didn't know what to do with the napkin. You didn't know. And a lot of times you got ruled out because you didn't know basics.
Mhm.
So that's why Joe and I, we're back home now.
Talk
We
about
help
the
them.
master class.
Joe.
Well, we have a series of master classes. One we have for professional development, and
Mhm.
we teach individuals how to perform on the job.
Okay.
So, you know, college doesn't prepare you,
Mhm.
high school doesn't prepare you, nothing prepares you for how do you perform, how do you
Mhm.
send an email, how do you engage with employees, how do you connect in a way that helps you advance your career. So
Mhm.
these are the personal soft skills that we teach.
Mhm.
We teach in addition to the dining etiquette. That's such a critical piece, but
Mhm.
once you have that skill and knowledge, you can eat anywhere. We've been to dinners where we went to a dinner with the Ashanti King and the president of, we were at a dinner with the president of Trinidad and Tobago. If we didn't have these skills, we might be out of place. But because we've developed these skills, we know how to conduct ourselves in any kind of environment.
But we also talk about, in the master classes, talking to also when you go to a corporate table. Now, I've paid, what, $40,000, $50,000 for that table. I've already had my secretary go and put the names so that for the 10, table
and there's
10.
a reason I've set those names.
There's a reason, because the best seat is this seat that's facing the podium. Now, if I'm running a little late, you know, I've already got the name tag here. When I get there and I've got maybe the president of Myers or the president of Kroger, and we walk in and you're sitting in our seats. Come on now.
Oh, you've moved the name tag.
You moved it, like I don't know the name tag. You move the name tag and I won't ever say anything. But you'll never get invited again. You know, so it's just basic. Or what do you do in a corporate suite? You know, you can't get drunk in a corporate suite, or you can't let your client get drunk. If you're working for the company, I can't let my client get drunk and go out and kill himself or have an accident. He's going to sue the company. So there's certain guidelines and master classes that we're talking about: conduct, etiquette, what you should and shouldn't do, what you can expect. You know,
even what to wear.
Right. You know, and that's one of the things we teach, believe it or not. You know, there are 3 rules for women's dress in corporate and professional. Never too low, never too tight, and never too short. And so we teach people who are entering the workforce, these are some fundamental rules that you must abide by. And one of the things when, you know, I was at Coca-Cola and part of my responsibility was employee discipline. And, you know, I can't tell you how many employees ran afoul of company ethics and rules because they just didn't understand, like, internet. Using the internet inappropriately can get you, for personal reasons, can get you fired. Phone calls. You know, the company has a right to sort of monitor phone calls. So if you're using the phone inappropriately or you're on the phone excessively, these things can be a reason for termination. And so we try to teach individuals, here's the proper conduct for corporate environments or entrepreneurial environments, because what you don't know can hurt you.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
You know, people will enforce those rules.
And, you know, one of the things that, so I worked there for 25 years, but what I learned is that in order to move up, you have to move out. So people would say, well, you're going to leave Atlanta? Yeah. I wanted to go where the money was, and that's where the money is. So sometimes you have to move out of a company or move out of position and move to another. So we lived in North Carolina, and the blessing was while we were in North Carolina, Joe was able to open up his law practice in North Carolina, and he taught at Fayetteville State.
Oh, okay.
So we lived in North Carolina. What else did we moved to? Whoa, I lived here in Detroit when I met Joe, and then when we moved back to Atlanta. So, you know, a lot of times you can't get stuck on a city. You can't fall in love with a city. You got to fall in love with the opportunity.
Or fall in love with the job.
Right.
You know, believe you can do something else.
Yes.
Believe you can better yourself.
Yes.
And I can't tell you how many people, you know, lost their self-respect and dignity when, you know, they thought that this was a job for life. And employers don't always see it that way, you know. And
especially now, you know, there were times when we worked for a company for 25, 30 years. That doesn't happen anymore.
It doesn't. And so, you know, people have to be prepared to be movable. You have to be able to transfer and not, you know, just base your life on that job and that location. So.
And to be global. There are jobs in Africa. There's jobs in London. There's Paris. I mean, you may have to learn to speak another language, but the world is out there. And so one of the things that one of the Bible verses that rules my life is Isaiah 6:8. It says, whom shall I send and who will go for us? And he said, here am I, send me. And that's how I live my life. Send me. A lot of times, and see, you got to marry somebody evenly yoked. Because sometimes I'll say, Joe, I got to go preach in Kenya. And Joe said, we've never been to Kenya. I said, I know, I don't know anything about Kenya, but I got to be in Nairobi by Sunday. So he said, okay, the only question he asked is, when are you coming back?
Okay.
So I said, okay. So I called and found out that there was a church in Nairobi. I said, call the people and tell them I'm coming. I got a message from the Lord for them. And so I went over to Nairobi. And when I got in the hotel in the lobby, there was a bunch of ministers there. They had on their collars too. And they said, "Hey, are you a reverend from Dallas?" I said, "No, I'm from Fayetteville, Georgia." They said, well, what are you doing here? I said, I got a word from the Lord. I'm going to preach on Sunday. They said, "We're here with TD Jakes. We're doing water wells." I said, "Okay, that's nice." And they had all these weapons. They had guards with them and everybody. They said, "Well, this is you in Kenya. Well, where are your guards?" I said, "Well, wait a minute. I got my Bible right here. The Lord sent me."
One.
Yeah. So I tell you what, take all them guards and all them guns going on over there. And I got a host of angels encamped around me. That's where I am. And so, God says, he says, "Send me in." So that's what I think people have to do. God has given everybody something to do. Do it. You got to do whatever it is God has told you to do. Do it. Don't be, if you got fear, then you don't have faith. If you got faith, then you don't have fear. But you got to let one of them go.
See, there it is. There it is. You
right.
got
Preach
to
that,
do
Reverend.
what he sends you to do, even when you don't understand it.
That's right.
Even when you said, "Oh, are you sure?" Are you
Right.
sure? I don't mean to question you, God, but okay,
Right.
here we go. And then I'm going to tell the story that I did to you before about Sandy when she asked me about being on her radio show, her station. And we were in the grocery store and we hadn't seen each other for a while. And we started talking and we just talked about old times and talked. And we said, "Okay, see you later." And then we came back around and ran into each other again in the same grocery store. And she said, "You know what? God told me to ask you this the first time. I guess he sent me back over here and brought us back together to ask you to be on the radio show." And I was beside myself. "I don't know, I do that. I don't know." But she said, "So I should have did what God told me to do in the first place."
There you go.
But he will do what he says.
Right.
And make sure it's God telling you now.
Right.
Now that's
See,
that's
you
your other
do it.
thing.
You have to know his
Yes,
voice.
Right.
yes,
There you go.
yes.
There you go, Reverend Johnson.
Yeah.
There you go, Reverend. We
Gotta
going to
know
start
his
preaching in
Yeah.
here.
Listen. Yeah.
You
So
got to know.
we believe in divine connections. And maybe next time we come, we'll tell the story of how we met and how divine that was. Because we know that God connected us for a higher purpose, a
Right.
higher calling.
That's right.
And so, throughout our marriage, we've always been about doing God's business, but also doing it for God's people.
Right.
And so
Makes
that's
a
just
difference.
we always say that's been our passion and our purpose. And so, we just wake up in the morning thinking about, hey, how can we do this better? How can we refine this? How can we create this? And let's, go out and help people. And so it's just been a blessing. And we're just excited to continue that work here in Detroit.
I am so glad you came back home.
Yeah.
I'm just so glad you
And we came home to
back
take care of Granny, Joe's mom, Maddie Johnson. And we thought we were going to be here to take care of Granny, but God had a higher purpose and had another calling for her. He wanted her to come back home. He needed another angel.
And she was the one.
So I tell you what, I stay prayed up for people that are caregivers. That's
Absolutely.
a tough job.
That is a tough job. It is a tough job. I'm telling you. Well, Joe and Adrian, thank you so much. This has been so wonderful. Well, we've got lots more to talk about, but we're going to do that another time because you're coming back.
Yes.
But I just want to thank you both
Oh, it's our
for
pleasure.
being on the show today. But first of all, thank you for coming home.
Yes.
Thank you for
Yes.
coming home.
Well, thank you.
And thank you for doing all the things that you have done. I think people are learning so much about how we need to be grateful.
Yes.
Grateful for what we have,
Yes.
where we are, and
Yes.
who we are.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the messages you guys send is that be grateful.
That's
Yes.
right. That's
Yes.
right.
Be grateful and thankful that God has put you in a place that you can help others.
Amen.
That's
And
right.
that's what we want to continue to do. Thank you so much for being with
You're
us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank
God
you.
bless
Thank
you.
you.
God bless you.
They're coming back, everybody. They're coming back. They will be back. And I'll be back next Monday as usual at 4:00. Monday afternoon, Community Bell Show. Don't forget, we'll be here. We love you. And I'm sure next Monday will be our wonderful Sheriff Ray Washington will be with us. Ray's a regular on the show, so he'll be here next Monday to talk about what's going on in the Sheriff's Office and our new justice facility that will be opening soon. But to my guest today, thank you, Joe. Thank you, Adrian. I appreciate you.
Yes.
You got so much more to tell us.
Yes,
I
we
can't
do.
wait to hear it. Have
Yes,
a
we
great
do.
week, everybody. We'll see you next week. And don't forget to vote. You've got till tomorrow. WVTC Radio Detroit. Vote for the Stellar Award. We love you. Take care.
Attention! music lovers, we're thrilled to announce WVTC Radio Network has made it to round 2 of the Stellar Awards. Thank you for your support, but we're not done yet. Round 2 voting is now open. We need your help to win 2024 Stellar Award for Internet Radio Station of the Year. Please visit www.thestellaward.com. Look for the radio station ballot. Navigate to Category 4, Internet Station of the Year, and cast your vote for WVTC Radio Network, Ramon Perry. Remember, each household can vote twice, so make your voice heard before April 30th. Let's spread the gospel and bring home the Stellar Award for WVTC Radio Network. We thank you for your support, and may God richly bless you.
Thank you for listening to Community Bell with your host, former Wayne County Commissioner Edna Bell. This broadcast was brought to you by WVTC Radio Detroit. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, our website, www.wvtcradio.com, or download our WVTC app from the Play Store for Android users and the App Store for iPhone users. If you've enjoyed this broadcast, tell a friend to tune in. We'll see you next Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern to the Community Bell Show, right here on WVTC Radio Detroit. You're listening to WVTC Gospel Radio Detroit, and we're flowing in the Spirit.